Hi, I'm Matthew Teague with Popular Woodworking. Today we're going to take a look at making a number of different jigs and sleds that will make your table saw work better and more accurately. All of these are very simple to make, but I think all of them are really essential to any wood shop. So let's get started. So I'm always surprised at how often I've used the tall auxiliary fence that I have in my shop. Obviously you'll use it for cutting anything that's taller. If you've got a tall workpiece like this, put a backer board behind it, you can run it. If you're doing cabinet doors, drawer bottoms, you need to cut rabbets. It's an easy way, you hold a panel right up against it. You can also cut raised panels of all sizes. I've also outfitted mine with a number of different jigs that run against the fence to hold taller workpieces. Makes it really just endlessly adaptable to cutting all kinds of joinery. There are a few different types of auxiliary fences, or a few different ways to build them at least. Ones that I've used for a long time kind of work like this. Just got a couple of braces here. Got a brace all along here. Two pieces of melamine make up the fence itself. Melamine gives you a nice slick surface. The work slides on it easily. And I also am screwing this face on from the back side. That's if in the course of using it you ever need to bury the blade in it a little bit. If you're cutting a really small rabbet, you wind up nicking this surface. You can just unscrew it, take this secondary face off, and replace it with a new one. That always has worked well for me. Another nice thing about this, it's got this piece here, so the way it works, just grab a couple of clamps, clamp it in place, and you're ready to go. Another option for fences, if you have one of these square Biesmeyer style fences, like the one on this saw, and it's what most saws come with nowadays. You can actually make a fence that just fits directly over it and locks into place. Just like that. I usually put a clamp at the front or back just to keep it from sliding as I work, but they work really smoothly. I'm going to walk through the steps to make one. As you can tell, it's pretty basic though. You've got just an L shape here, screwed to a fence, and a couple of braces to make sure it stays square. Got the parts roughed out. I'll show you how it goes together. So I got the parts roughed out for our over the fence that's going to give us a tall fence for cutting a number of different tall pieces. Basically three parts and a couple of braces. You've got one piece here, sits on the right side of the fence. This top sits directly down on the fence. The piece here that it goes against, you want to make sure you've got just a little bit of play there because you don't want to be hitting the table itself. So make that a 1/16 or 1/8 of an inch shy of the full depth. The tall fence butts right up against this. And then we'll put a few braces in place just to make sure it stays square. I've marked a line here on the center of this front piece that fits over the fence. I'm going to drill a couple of holes and then we'll set that in place. So I've got all my holes pre-drilled. I'm just driving the last few screws in. Securing the tall fence to the little brace that spans the original fence on your saw. Once I get that in, I'll lay it down flat, and I've pre-drilled holes here to put a couple of braces in from underneath. I've drilled for 5 braces here. 3 should hold it, but if we need to throw it back into square at some point, we've got holes pre-drilled. So once I get these attached on the bottom side from underneath, I'll flip the fence over and attach them to the face of the tall fence. Just taking a combination square and aligning it with the brace. Make sure I drill my holes in the right spot. You're going to make sure all the screws in the face of the fence are countersunk because you don't want anything to hit as you're passing it across the fence. Just add a few screws to tie the 2 pieces together. So once you get the fence and the braces all together, before you add the runner on the outside that keeps it tight to the fence, you want to check and make sure you're square, because if you're not, you can still easily unscrew things, make whatever adjustment you need to. Measure it all the way down its length, because with a couple of different braces in here, it's possible that you get it twisted one way or the other. It looks like we're nice and square to the table all the way down the length of the fence. So I will put this brace in. You remember there was a little bit of slop in it when we cut it, which will make it easier in use, but it makes it a little trickier to put together. I've got a couple of quarters, just some U.S. Treasury spacers. Set them underneath so that that screw will cinch up really well when you put it in place. Just pre-drill a couple of holes and lock this down. So once it's screwed down, if we've sized everything correctly, it should slide on and off the fence pretty easily. But no slop side to side. We're moving the whole saw instead of wiggling on the fence. That's exactly what you want. So once you have the tall fence in place, the most obvious thing you can use it for is cutting tall panels. If you want to raise a panel or cut a rabbet on a tall panel that's going to go like as a drawer bottom, it's easy to cut a rabbet. That's what we're going to do here. I'm going to start off just by setting the blade. I want it about a 1/2 inch, so I'm just going to set it to the height of the plywood itself. Bring the fence over. Set it up to cut about a 1/4 inch rabbet, or leave about a 1/4 inch tongue rather. You could measure this if you need to be that exact. For our purposes, it doesn't really matter. So I'll go ahead and make this cut. I'll make it on all 4 sides. You'll notice as I'm working, I'm going to keep one hand on the back side. It's going to lay both on the panel and then across the back of the fence to keep it tight. And then with this hand, I'll keep pressure against the fence. Because the fence is square to the table, that should give us a nice square cut to the edge. Now you could lower the blade, butt the stock against it, and remove it this way. What's going to happen though is that little tiny offcut is going to shoot back at you. It's so small it wouldn't really be dangerous. It's not going to do any damage. But the other option, since you already got the fence in place and the height is already set, just slide it over to remove that outside edge, make the cut again, and finish the rabbet. Now you may have noticed I adjusted the fence a little bit just to get a nice clean cut edge on the outside face of the panel. What that did was it left just a little sliver of wood here. You can crack that off and run a chisel down the edge, or you could adjust the fence just to remove that as well. But what you're left with, nice rabbeted panel, should slide straight into a drawer box. That's just the most basic use for the tall fence. You can also set this blade at an angle, cut a beveled panel like for a fielded cabinet door of any kind. Lots of other uses. We'll talk about some of those.